welcome to another episode of the Rhode Island Small Business Coalition's Small Business Forum. I'm your host, David Dadekian, small business owner here in the state of Rhode Island. I own Eat, Drink, Rhode Island. And today we have with us the Executive Director of Skills for Rhode Island's Future, Nina Pande. She'll be joining us and talking about all the things that Skills does, small business services, hiring practices as well, and helping hiring and job placements, things of that nature. So welcome, Nina.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Why don't we? I know what Skills for Rhode Island's Future it does, and I've participated in some of the programs. But for our audience, please tell us, what it is that you do there, and get a nice overview, please.
Yeah, certainly. So at Skills for Rhode Island's Future, we're really focused on the people part of economic development here in the state of Rhode Island, right? So in the state, we're always looking for ways in which to grow our economy. And we're strong believers here at Skills is that people are our single greatest asset here in the state of Rhode Island. And so what we really focus on are three areas of development of the people, again, our greatest asset. We started out in 2016 with adult workforce and helping the state really reimagine what the workforce should look like and how do we align talent with the demands of where the future of work is going. And so adult workforce development remains kind of our core program. In 2018, we heard from employers that they really wanted to help be a part of the solution of preparing young adults for the workforce. So we added our Prepare RI portfolio in 2018 that focuses on youth, high school age and college students, again, preparing them for the workforce, making sure that they're meeting our local demands. And then new to our lineup, and I should say new, it's now, I can't believe I'm going to say this, going into its third year, is the Rhode Island Small Business Hub, David, right, which is how you really got engaged with our organization. Because through our work of our adult workforce programs, we recognized the gig economy was really becoming an anchor part of our local economy. So we were having a lot of small business entrepreneurs coming in, seeking services through the pandemic. And so in 2023, we stood up what is now known as the Rhode Island Small Business Hub. Again, focusing on how do we build skills? How do we make sure that our small business community has what it takes to be successful in the current state of our economy as well as future state? So those are our three main pillars, again, adult, youth, and then small business entrepreneurs.
Right. Absolutely. That's fantastic to hear it all laid out like that. Thank you very much for that summary. Obviously, the small business part of it, we know the applications there, and there's been technical programs that we've participated in. The coalition promoted some of those when you were putting those out. Always happy to do that. Always happy to let our small businesses know what's out there. But that hiring side of it, that job placement side of it, it's still key for small businesses. I mean, we are always either looking for new talent or trying to find new talent, especially coming out of the high schools. I know right before we started recording this, you were talking with Jen about the CTE programs because she's teaching the barbershop. I think it's cosmetology is the name of the program at Coventry High School. So talk about that. Talk about that growth, to train younger folks and move them into the workforce.
Certainly. So we want to make sure that students have what we call experiential learning or work-based learning, right? So I don't know how you are, David, but for me, I learn by doing, right? Anytime I'm put into a new scenario, and I think this is what I love about entrepreneurs, is you start with a passion, but then you continuously learn and grow, right?
Oh, yeah.
Same with our youth, right? They have all these ideas of what they want to do. They think they understand what their career path is, but until you try it, it's hard to kind of say what you want to do. So our high school and college programs are really seeped in that experiential learning, right? You were saying how Jennifer's a CTE instructor. In the state of Rhode Island, students have to have work requirements or work experience as part of their graduation requirements, these 80 hours. And so we work with a lot of small businesses, getting back to the small business side, who may host these interns, right? And again, help be a part of preparing that future. What's nice about how we approach this is we at Skills are actually the employer of record, right? So for small businesses who don't have robust HR departments, who may not even fully understand all of the requirements around HR or labor laws, we kind of serve as that proxy for them in hosting these interns. We put them on our payroll. We take on all the liability because hosting interns can be expensive.
Mhm.
It can change your risks and exposures very differently from a small business perspective. But what we want is those small business owners to get some talent, and then also help prepare that student for their future career. But I'm going to get back to that hiring side. We want to be that intermediary for a lot of these small businesses where they are very interested in engaging, whether it's hiring talent who are high school or college students or hiring talent who are adults, but just simply don't have the resources. They can come to us through the Rhode Island Small Business Hub, and we can help be that back end for them in figuring out how to recruit, how to train, take advantage of a lot of the programs that the state has to offer.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that whole process, like you said, it can be very convoluted as someone who's hired folks in the past, just having to, have workers' comp insurance because because for some reason working in an office could be dangerous, and I had an employee that I needed to have a comp insurance, things of that nature. Obviously all the tax and benefits and all that is key. So it's great for those resources to be available to small business owners. And, oftentimes entrepreneurs, they start off as a single owner operator and grow. uh and so you need those resources available to you. So that's really great to hear. And I think internships as well, they're hit or miss. We all know this. Students don't always know what they want to do. They may not always be engaged with what you're doing in your business the same way that you are. But it's a great advantage to have. It's a great asset to have. I've used interns many times over the years, some better than others. And I think, that conversation, that growth is needed. And it's great to have resources like yours to place folks.
It is. And what we tell our interns, David, you were saying about how sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Success for us in our programs are even figuring out what you don't like to do or what
Right.
environment you don't want to be in, right? Because how many of us go through life thinking we have it all figured out to just come across a space where we're like, yep, this doesn't feel right anymore, right? And
Yeah.
so it's important for even adults to be able to have that, right? Our work and our economy around us is changing. People are they're entering into different spaces more rapidly. We saw a lot of turnover during the pandemic, people not staying with jobs. And so we really love to be able to create those conditions where people can explore multiple things.
Fantastic. Thank you again for offering that resource to folks. I mean, as I'm also a parent of a senior, so we've had these conversations. She's a senior in high school, and she has a vague interest in certain things. She knows she likes this, she knows likes that, but how that translates to a job is a whole nother issue. And so, and I didn't know when I was 17 exactly what it is I was going to do. I certainly didn't know I was going to be doing this. So I think it's a great, like you said, it's a great way to find out what you do and do not like, and able to move forward.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the technical services program, because that was a really great program, and I think not enough people out there knew about it. I mean, obviously it's passed, but I think it still deserves some good amount of credit, because it really did bring a lot of people together. And it was a good lifeline for a lot of folks during the pandemic. Obviously, it was just where it came out of. Uh, what did you learn from that? What did you think that experience was like?
Yeah, so two things. So the Rhode Island Rebounds program, which was a phenomenal program that the state offered, where they provided nearly $10 million that was then repurposed for small businesses to take advantage of a lot of technical assistance. We learned quite a bit during the rebounds phase of our work. And what we learned is, again, passion drives a lot of people for wanting to open up a small business or be an
Right.
entrepreneur, but really understanding it is a business at the end of the day, right? Like, even, I run a business, right? We're a nonprofit, but we're a business at the end of the day. We have bills to pay, we have staff we have to hire, we have payroll we need to run, we have to file tax filings. There's a lot that goes into running a business. And I think when people first step into this space, um, they are so driven by their motivating factors of why they've started. But then when they've realized, oh, I need to have a marketing plan. Oh, revenue isn't meeting expectations, or I didn't hit my sales mark, they're not really sure where to go from there. And so what we learned during rebounds is people needed legal support. People needed a lot of marketing support. E-commerce is changing the way that we're doing business, right? And David, so much of what you do is around marketing and telling stories.
Right.
Marketing has changed, right?
Oh yeah.
No longer is print media a thing. If you don't have a great social media game, if you're not willing to do some stuff, to get your name out there, uh, people can't find you. And I think that people struggle with that. And so we saw that as a big need. I think what it helped us was it helped us focus at the Small Business Hub to figure out, once we came out of the Rebounds program, really where to put our energy. So people can actually still come in and get technical assistance. What's a little unique about our program at the Small Business Hub is people actually get services directly through our agency. And so at the Rhode Island Small Business Hub, we actually have 2 attorneys who are on staff who are exclusively working with small businesses. So whether you're out there and you've just recently started a business and you're questioning whether or not you've properly incorporated your business and have the right type of filing, let us know. We can help you work that out. We have a lawyer who specializes in entertainment law. So we have a lot of artists who are coming into our space right now, trying to figure out some legal structures to help them grow their business. We also have a team for marketing and website development. We have a finance and accounting team. And so small businesses can come in and not have to make that difficult decision. Hiring an attorney is expensive. I'm not saying we're going to be your attorney, but you can come in and get legal advice to say,
Exactly. Yeah.
should you hire an attorney, right? I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. You'll come in, we'll help you fill out some paperwork. And same with marketing, we'll help you design a plan, but we're not going to be your web developers in perpetuity, right? But you'll come in, you'll learn, understand, dissect, test and feel, and because we're generously supported by the state and the federal government, it is no cost to any of the small businesses coming in. And I think, David, where you and others were helpful from the coalition is so many of you became kind of those technical assistants and ambassadors through us to be able to help so many small businesses. I do hope that investments like that continue to come through, because small business is essential to our economy, right? It's the majority of our businesses here in the state. And I think we have a real opportunity to help our small businesses grow, to not even just serve our local economy, but how do they become a bigger player in the regional economy? How do they sell
Absolutely.
services or goods? Or, as we're thinking about local manufacturing, how do we help them think bigger than Rhode Island? That's what gets us really excited. And so you can come in here and test the waters. We can build a business plan with you. We can make sure we're looking at your financial projections. We can make sure that as you grow, your legal structure remains relevant to your growth.
Great to hear. This fantastic resources for people. Again, thank you for that. The technical assistant program that we worked with you, the coalition. I think it had a little bit of a rocky start, but once it got going, it was really really great and really helpful to a lot of folks. And like you said, you need those avenues. I think not only do small business owners have a lot of things that they have to tackle, it's also changing constantly, especially in the last 5 years. I mean, I think we've seen so much change to every aspect of it. From marketing, obviously, is constantly changing, but even through sales, through management of employees, it's all changing rapidly. And to have someone that they could turn to and ask those questions and find those resources, and then connecting with other people out there in the world is really important.
Absolutely. And one of the trends that we're really watching is artificial intelligence, right?
Sure.
How is AI going to actually be an added value to make people more insightful, I'm going to say, into their business, right? How can a small business owner become a data expert and looking at their numbers very differently? And we believe AI will be able to do that. So we are actually testing some tools. We've bought some software that has AI built into it, where we're looking at it to be able to really empower small businesses to look at their practice very differently. So we're really excited about that. And we're trying to create some modules to at least get people to understand some of the foundational pieces of AI, and how they can leverage it. And I think in spaces like bookkeeping and accounting and really automating practices there can be game changer for some businesses, right? I talk to business owners all the time. They have POS systems, which are great. But do they know how to run reports and analyze their reports, right? So AI can be that go-between for them. They can run reports and figure out a way for AI to analyze it for them so that they can be smarter in their business decision making as well. And as I look at supply chain and as we're looking at tariffs and potential disruptions, how do we get ahead of that? When money is tight, again,
Yeah.
technology to me can be a great equalizer in that space.
Absolutely true. I think it's a great tool. We actually just recently, the coalition held an AI workshop for folks. It was specific to hiring. That we had a consultant who came in who specializes in AI hiring practices, and it's just a tool. I think there's obviously a lot out there, a lot of talk, about uh, pros and cons of it, and like any other tool, you gotta make it work for what you need it to do. But for things like you just mentioned, I mean, for those kind of routine tech you know technical things that it just takes time, just takes hours of your day, it's a great tool. It's a great
Great
tool.
resource. Absolutely.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
and uh and like I said, things like that changing, it's a constant change. It's a great resource that we got to stay on top of, because it really is fascinating. I've always been, not to go too much of a tangent, but I've always been sort of an early adopter of technology, and it's fascinating to see. It took online and the web 5 to 10 years really to get saturated. But like AI has taken off in 18 months roughly. It
Seconds.
took, yeah.
Yeah.
And you realize, you think about television and how long that took, radio, how long that took. This one is just, yeah, it's a fraction, a tiny fraction of the time for these other technologies to,
And I think
yeah,
for those of us who are afraid of it, you're going to miss out, right? Like,
yeah,
because the growth is going to be exponential. And I think you said something that's so important that I want to go back to is you need to figure out how to make it work for yourself, right?
yeah,
And I think those are the things that we want to be able to teach people is how do you leverage it so that it becomes greater operational efficiency for your business or better forecasting for your business. Not everybody has to have an MBA. You know what I mean? Like it really helps you be able to look at stuff very differently. So we're excited. We're really excited by that, and I'd love to learn more about your AI workshops, and maybe we can co-sponsor some stuff in the future as we're talking to some larger companies about dollars and resources coming in to help support small businesses with this adoption.
excellent. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. As you may know, our chair of our board, Chris Parisi, was one that he was the vice chair of the AI task force for the state, and worked with Congressman Langevin on that. So yeah, we try to stay on top of it. It's
Absolutely. He and I've had several
yeah,
conversations about this. And so excited to see where it goes and love that you all are kind of helping leading and championing some of this work as well for small businesses.
yeah. And I wanted to go back to your point about expanding and regionalizing, and not just, as much as we all love Rhode Island, it's a limited market. We all know this. So I think that's a great point. I was reading a piece on CNBC just this morning about these businesses that have done that around the country. They're really being hit by these tariffs. What do you see there? Have you had much experience with business owners coming into you and talking about this yet?
It's slow, but I think we're starting to hear some conversations, right? Particularly for those who depend on sourcing materials from overseas. I think what we're seeing is people had resources, right? So now it's when they're going to rebuy or restock or resupply where they're starting to see this. And I think more than anything, they're still trying to understand its direct impact, right? So many of our small businesses are not direct producers of what they're doing. So they're going through third parties, they're
Yeah,
figuring it out. We have had a couple of small businesses who were kind of caught in this. Were goods purchased before the tariffs went into effect? What happened? Who's determining that? So it's just starting to kind of creep up to our front door, not with the level that we might be hearing nationally. But again, I think that trickle down to small business usually takes a little longer.
right.
But it is definitely a topic of conversation. And part of it is how do you look at costing of goods based on tariffs, right? I think we're seeing it more in the food service space. We're seeing it because food products that are coming from overseas. I think we're hearing it just even at local domestic production and access
Yeah.
to supplies. And I know this is a space that you live in, so we're hearing that more and more. That's kind of where we're hearing that pronouncement is when it comes to foods and goods.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. I was just working with one of my farm clients the other day, and he had a lump sum amount that they had to pay, and he's like, "How do we adjust all our prices to reflect this lump sum?" And I was like, "I'll work on it, but maybe I'll put an AI on it."
Yeah,
I didn't
well, there you go.
yet.
And it's tricky because, cost of living, we hear about this all the time, right?
Right?
And so when you're looking at restaurants that already have a razor thin margin to
Yeah,
begin with, it's, are you going to cost yourself out where your customers are no longer going to walk through the door, right? And I think that that's the tricky part. And I think we're going to start seeing more of that as we kind of close out this year and starting
yeah,
in the new year. I think consumer index will tell us a lot about behaviors, but our businesses are in a very difficult position.
yeah. The holiday season is going to be interesting to follow. I also
It
saw a
certainly will.
headline this morning. I didn't read the article yet, but consumer credit card spending was at a low in September. So yeah, these are all things that we're gonna have to
Yeah.
keep an eye on. And
After it's just come off of kind of record highs, right? And
true,
so
yeah.
these
So yeah,
swings,
I mean, I
right?
don't think we shouldn't panic by any means yet, but I think it is something to watch and pay attention.
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
Well, all right. This has been a great conversation, Nina. Thank you very much. Is there anything we missed? Anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
We're big fans of just reach out. If you want to learn more, we're kind of old school. Pick up the phone, give us a call, go to our website. We still like to do a lot of meetings in person. For those of you who are not familiar with our agency, we're headquartered in Providence, but we also have satellite locations in Woonsocket and Central Falls. We go out into different communities all the time, and we're here to help. And if we can't help immediately, we'd love to learn what some of the other challenges are. We are constantly trying to take the pulse on small businesses to see where we can continue to pivot resources and advocate for them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll certainly be linking up all the information for skills and the small business hub down below in our show notes when this is posted. So thank you again for your time, Nina. We really appreciate it. That's the executive director of Skills for Rhode Island's Future, Nina Pande. Thank you very much, Nina.
Thank you.
And thank you as always for watching. We would love to have a like, subscribe, a comment, all those things you're supposed to do to keep the show active. Rate us on your favorite podcast channel. Check out risbc.org to be part of the coalition. And like I said, check our show notes down below for all the links for what we were talking about today. Thanks again. Take care.